live. I'm still in my kitchen. It's too cold outside. We had rain yesterday. Okay, the temperature's been great the past couple days, and then it was raining. Get out of work. All right, cool. Went to bed. Rain. All right. Woke up this morning. School's canceled, so my wife didn't get to go to work, and my truck was covered in snow. So I was thinking about doing this out in the barn. No. That's a big old negative. What is going on, guys? Yeah. Chilling. Did get a heater. Thought I'd let you guys know that. So that's coming soon. I got this weekend, I got to exchange a propane tank. My coworker allowed me to borrow his convection heater. Anyway, propane heater. It's got a long attachment on it, plenty of air out there, so I'm not worried about suffocating or anything out there, but it should get me out into the barn a little sooner because I got a lot of work to do, mostly cleaning. It's such a disaster. Every end of the season, it's a disaster. What's going on, man? Not much. Just doing the live. But yeah, got a heater. It's in the back of my truck now. Got to get some propane for it. And then I got this concept. It's not really that big of a deal to understand, but I'm gonna get the heater going and get it blowing good air. And then I got a couple fans, and I'm just gonna put it slightly behind it to kind of waft the heat towards the area in which I'm cleaning. You know, I had a propane or a kerosene heater at one time, and it was just I'd work out there, and it's just like every 3 seconds I had to go over and warm my paws up. But if I think I can heat a general area, it'll be much better. And if not for anything, recording videos, sweet, you know, get it, you know, give myself 5-10 minutes out there, fire that thing up and just get the general area warm so I can do videos outside. But mostly if I can get ahead of the game and actually get some work done before, you know, usually it's a mad scramble, you know, weather starts to clear up, you know, end of March type of thing, somewhere in the March, April type of range. And then I'm in a mad scramble, and it's mostly, the mad scramble will mostly be UAS stuff. The clone cart is pretty good to go, with the exception I got to get my clones checked out just to, you know, make sure everything's right and ready. And I love you. You post very helpful. Thank you. I appreciate that. I try. I try and help out as much as possible. I don't ever claim to be 100% correct, but if I can get everybody pointed in a better direction, that is my intent. Oh, you're very welcome. He says, hey, buddy, thank you for the break video. You're very, very welcome. That's, you know, I try and cover all the basics and bases of, you know, kart racing and everything. And sometimes stuff like that gets a little overlooked by me. You know, I'm doing other videos on this or that, a product or something like that. And it was just like, man, I've talked about brakes before. I've talked about bleeding brakes and stuff like that, but I guess I have never changed pads before on film. And I was like, perfect. That's, you know, they're fairly simple, but sometimes they're a bugger. There's other things that come into play, you know, changing your pads more often, a glazed brake. You get like if you're using your brake a lot, it'll get a sheen to it. I'll do a video on that. Just, you know, rubbing some sandpaper basically on it to get that glaze off there, so you have more effective braking. But yeah, hey, what's going on, Bill Sear? I am doing well. I'm slacking in some departments, but like I was just saying to the people that are in here, I got a heater for out there. I didn't buy one. My coworker lent me one because he's not going to be using it this winter. And it should get me out into the barn and get me working. I got it. I just, first and foremost, I have to make sense out of the mess. The There is a ton of crap out there that I do not need. I am not a hoarder by any stretch of the imagination. I was having this conversation at band practice the other day, and I do have a little pack rat in me. I think it comes from my grandfather on the Taft side. To whereas I think, oh, I can use, someday I'll use that, and it's just like I got stuff that I look at, and it's like, man, I have had that for 10 years, and I've yet to use it. Now I know full well that as soon as I get rid of it, it's gone. It's going to be needed. That's a bummer. What do I play? Vocalist. I'm not doing much of the vocal. I say vocalist because I will, lack a better term, new metal, heavy stuff. I scream. If anybody ever is interested in it, Spotify, Apple Music, you can actually find it on YouTube. And So This Ends. The EP name is 12 Years. And I think we have 5 songs on there. I think it's 5 songs. I think it's four originals, and then we do a cover of Faith No More's Gentle Art of Making Enemies. And I won't say, I never say a singer, because I sing a little, but it's more of a, I don't sound like Jonathan Davis from Korn, but it is along that line with some screams. Back when I was younger, my best friend Doug plays bass. He's the bassist in that band, and I won't say chasing the dream, but we were playing a lot, practicing, doing the whole barn band, garage band, this and that. And you have dreams. Oh, we're gonna be one of the next things. And we took a hiatus. That hence the name of the EP is called 12 Years, because there was evolutions of the band name and evolutions of the members and this and that, and we finally got kind of settled into a core group of 4 guys, and we were practicing fairly regularly. I think we played a show or 2, maybe not. Maybe we didn't play any shows. I can't remember the latest iteration of it, but there was a 12-year hiatus of the band members, and now that we're old, all of us still had a passion for music. So we wanted to get back together. We started, we do cover songs. Like I said, we did some Korn, some Killswitch Engage, Deftones, stuff like that, just to play the songs. And then we wrote our own, and it's just like, it's a good time. Why don't we record it with no, when you're young, you think you're gonna get signed. You could be, a band. In that context, and now it's for the love of music. And I got to tell you, I go to band practice once a week still, and we don't have a drummer currently, so it's digital drums. Our guitarist Sean creates the drums on the computer, and I am a slacker. One of the worst things about being a lyricist, a vocalist, if you will, is writing lyrics, because I don't know, I had a whole lot of angst when I was young, so it was easy to just complain. And I'm not that way anymore. I'm a much happier type of individual, so it's I can still pull from that. Things do aggravate me, and that type of music kind of warrants it, but it's difficult. It's more difficult, and I'm real big on vocal rhythms and stuff like that. Even though I'm not the greatest singer, the vocal rhythm has to fit the music, and sometimes I struggle with that, putting words to the rhythm. But yeah, sorry to say, bud, but it's going to get cold in Wisconsin this weekend. Yeah, I'm sure it's. My boss was talking about it's going to be down in the single digits next week, like next Monday or something like that. I don't look at the weather, except for race season. You get on Facebook or whatever, and everybody's like, it's snowing. It's just like, congratulations, you live in Western New York. I've never seen that before. 48 years of my life, I've never seen snow in. So I don't pay much mind to it until it's race season. Then it matters. No more. We don't want that R word on race day. So didn't know at the time, but I found out after he was also Louder Than Life, your past year. How'd you like it? Oh, yeah. Louder Than Life, that concert, fantastic. My daughter and I were just talking about it. We went on, we have what we call Family Fun Day. That's where the core four, plus plus my son's girlfriend, she's, it's core four plus one. It's a Scream, the new Scream movie reference. Anyway, we do family trips. We go up to what we call the city. It's Rochester. It's actually Henrietta, New York, and it's the outskirts of Rochester, and places to eat, stores, this and that. Costco. We hit the Costco fairly often, but we were talking about it, and of all the bands, I mean, there. Slaughter to Prevail it was a spectacle to be seen. I don't listen to a ton of them, but it's pretty wicked what he can do with his voice. But both my daughter and I agree that Flyleaf in 10 years were phenomenal. I couldn't get, it was just raw passion. It was everything I ever enjoy about watching live music. Very positive message. I just that made the entire trip worth it. I mean, I think we drove 10-hour night. It was supposed to be 9 hours. It was 10 plus hours or something like that down there. And my daughter and I went, which is, we've never really done anything like that together. My daughter, my wife and dog were back at the hotel room, but we got to see that. I mean, there was a bunch of bands that we saw that were really good. And Evanescence was, it pretty standard, I'd say. 3 Days Grace was really good. But the ones that just really, because it was a side stage, it felt more personal. Flyleaf and 10 Years were at the same stage, and I just loved it. It was fan freaking tastic. Awesome. I'm a guitar player from back in the 80s, hair band days. Nice. Yep, I appreciate a lot of music. I don't listen to a ton of rap. You can find a bit of it, but it's more like when I was getting out of high school, Snoop Dogg, stuff like that. I don't have a ton of rap on my Spotify playlist. Just not an overly rap guy, but you can find a lot of new metal and 90s, grunge type stuff. There's a lot of that, a lot of Alice in Chains. I've been listening, like, specifically, I've been listening to Octane on Sirius, because one thing about, having a genre that you're really into is that if I put it on Turbo, I've heard every song. I've heard every song for the past 20, 30 years. So it's just like, it's comforting and everything, but it was just like, part of me is just like, I would like to listen to something new. And, I think the one band that really stands out to me is President. Their EP there is fantastic in my eyes. I love I like a good steady balance of sings and screams. I'm not super into constant growls. It's just artistically, it's probably part of my thing that I used to scream a lot more than I do now. And it's easier to do when you're good at screaming, but as you get a little bit older, once you've dawned, you've gotten the gray hairs, it really hurts my voice to do the screams and stuff a lot. So I've cut back on it. Anyway, yeah. Little bit about myself, and So This Ends is the band, and my new band, the Sans the drummer. If maybe eventually we record, it's going to be Into the Gray. It's an homage to I was in a band briefly with a friend of mine from Rochester. Mike Hardy passed during COVID, and the band's name was November Gray. So it's kind of the Into the Gray. I came up with that name. Is a little bit of an honor of him, because he was a super good dude. And we just lived so far away from each other. I mean, it's 45, 50 minutes. Every time I had to go up to band practice, it was a real pain in the tuchus. Hold on, I gotta turn up my brightness. I know it shines on my glasses, but I also can't read because I'm old. Was the name of your band Spotify? Yeah. And So This Ends. It's a 4 or 5 song, I think it's 5 song EP. There's a song called "Comply." I just listened to that at the gym today. It's weird. I was lifting weights, pushing some bench press and stuff like that, and my own music comes on. I'm like, ah, I know these. I know these guys. They're mid, as the kids say nowadays. They're pretty mid, but yeah, it's aggressive, but not overly aggressive. Whoa, jeez. There's a song called "Spin" is the mellowest, and that is as close to singing as you're gonna get me. That we called it the emo song for a long time because vocally it's a little emotional type of thing. But you can definitely pick up a little bit of like Jonathan Davis esque type of the way I actually sing. Um, yeah, it's called "Spin." That song's called "Spin." I always forget my own. Matter of fact, if we by chance just play through an old song or something, I forget my own lyrics all the time. It's terrible. It's but yes, Spotify, Apple iTunes. I assume we're on Google Play if that's what it's called anymore. I don't know. I have an iPhone. But I've always my daughter wanted Spotify years ago. We got a family plan, and that's what I rock. Apple's constantly bugging me to go, hey, try this out. It's just like, man, I'd have to download every single song again because I really like the music that I have on there. But I have such an eclectic taste in music that you could go from Sia to In Flames. And I'm sanding Bondo every day, and then I'm going from like Sia is arguably one of the if not the best female vocalists of modern era. I love her older stuff, and don't get me wrong, the Chandelier and stuff like that's her vocals are still there, but her older stuff is really really good. Um, we have a DVD of her in concert back when she still showed her face. Anyway, yeah, going from that to In Flames or going to from Sia to Slaughter to Prevail, it's a little jarring. It's just like, come on, read the room, Spotify. Like you got to have like a breakup. Like if you went Sia, 3 Days Grace, then Slaughter to Prevail, there's a happy medium there, and I'd be way more into it. But I got a bunch of stuff on there, Metallica, stuff like that. But what was I going to mention? Oh, I was going to talk about the video. I'm not positive I'm going to do this for the video Sunday, but I don't cover a lot of current events in karting. I might do a video on that. I know, it's primarily an education based type channel, but there are things I've spoke up before, when NKA and AKRA came together on their engine rules. I think there was a extremely valid post made by WKA, NKA, and AKRA that not everybody has Facebook, and I did print off their post, and I kind of wanted to read it, and it funnels into a concept that I wanted to do a video on. Is it going to get many views? Probably not. But there again, I think it's all useful. Not only the physics of everything, the tires, the chassis, the general kart related stuff. I think that we all run under some form of sanctioning body and how they carry themselves and how you should carry yourselves in that form. It all adds up. It's all part of it. I mean, it's you go out the race. We do the best we can. We try and be as fast as we possibly can, but there's etiquette there, and I think I probably should do something like that occasionally. I don't ever want to be a bummer. I don't ever want to be seen as somebody sitting on a soapbox and preaching to people. That's not my thing. But also, I think it's valid. I've done videos before on racing etiquette, so kind of throw that into the mix. I'm contemplating it. I'm not saying I'm doing it, but I'm contemplating it. Also, I got a nice piece of I got a new 3D printed thing that I'm either gonna do it. Yeah, I'll probably do a short on it because it's small, but it's pretty cool. Nothing I've seen yet. But but yeah, I got to do that for accelerator gears. I got that. I got a little piece of coolness sitting out there in the living room. I just haven't been out yet to the barn to do stuff. Hey, nothing about music, Ben. I'm going to be running buggy crushes this year. Two disc, 6 ring. Should I run a 13 driver? Depends on track. It depends how big your track is. I would assume that a 13 driver would be somewhere in the neighborhood of a 5th mile ish. I have a bunch of bull rings around here. We run consistently 10s and 11s, tooth drivers on our bullies and everything. So if you're going to amass any sort of speed, like for instance, Selins Grove, I don't know that I'd be going to a concert with my daughter for certain. If I don't go, if she doesn't force my hand into that, I'll be going to Selins Grove to Attack of the Clones again. It's a Reaper race, but that race takes a 13 driver, from what I recall people saying running mini gears. You don't have to run mini gears in order to run a 13 driver. It's not what I'm saying, but that is a very fast 1/5 of a mile. And then hence the mini gear. So you could probably, matter of fact, I was on a 15 driver with standard gears. So the mini gears will allow me to run the smaller gear. But yeah, it depends on track size, depends on RPM. I mean, it's just keep in mind that 1 tooth on the driver is worth about 2 to 3 teeth on the rear gear. I always said 3, but on a clone, it depends on grip level, momentum, stuff like that. So it's similar, but not the same. So now I try and say 2 to 3 teeth. Changing 1 tooth on your driver is going to be worth 2 to 3 teeth on your rear gear. But that's track dependent. But yeah. 8th mile clay oval, they're going to bank the corners this year. Yeah, but an 8th mile's pretty sizable. You can, and especially if they bank it, you can really hold momentum. That's the thing about like AMS, the small track that I run here. Even though we'll run a 10 or 11 tooth, I had somebody playing around with a 12 tooth on there. The only thing we're going with a bigger gear is starts and restarts. It is a bear for your engine. Yes, you're increasing your torque level a little bit, but it also bogs the engine. So you got to somehow keep your RPMs up. That might entail something like doing a little trail braking coming to starts, like just going wide open and holding your brake and allowing the engine to kind of spool up naturally, not waiting on it. That's a thing that you can kind of play with if you're running a slightly bigger gear on a smaller track. But if they're going to bank it and you can keep up momentum, a 13 very well might be it. You'll probably, if a 13 is close to what you're going to need, you're going to have a balance. I find that at that small track there that you have some people running 10 tooth front drivers, some people running 11s, and the experiment with the 12 because it's a momentum based track that worked, but starts and restarts are a bear the bigger your front driver gets. So 13 in the front, maybe 60 to 62 in the rear. It's possible. Watch your RPMs. You can try it. It's without being there, without knowing, track specifics type of thing, tires, amount of grip, stuff like that. You just watch your RPM. Come off the track if you have a recall. Look if you're in that RPM range you're shooting for. Usually 6,900 if it's a clone. 6,900, 72, give or take. I know with the new cam, some people like to twist them. I can tell you that I goofed up at Selins Grove last year and my tack was not reading. I thought it was reading. It was not reading. And I ended up floating my valves pretty bad coming into the corner. I mean, it got off the corner pretty good. But at the end of the straightaway, I was definitely missing out. Putting too many rear teeth on the thing. So, yeah, I think somebody suggested me a 58 on the rear at that track, and I think I ended up on like a 61. because I thought it needed more gear. As it turns out, I didn't. I was looking for a feel that I didn't. No, it's not a clone. It's a 206. Okay, then whatever your RPM range is, just pay attention to that. That's the biggest thing that with gearing is. You can go into the concepts of momentum racing. You can go into takeoff. You can this and that. But if you're not pulling enough gear either way, it's going to be if you're pulling super low RPM, it's probably going to have a ton of speed at the end of the straightaway, and you're going to get some serious runs coming at the end of the straightaway. But the question is, when you jump out of the gas, whether you lift, you don't lift, coming out of the corner, that bigger driver is going to have a hard time. It's going to lug the motor, so it's going to have a tougher time. That's I usually try and if my engine builder suggests that I should turn my engine 7200. I try and keep it in that 69 to 72 range. Usually, if you're 6900, I'm talking about clone. It's going to be different for you, but you're going to find that if you're upper at the upper end of that 7200, it's definitely gonna jump off the corner way better. Great for passing and stuff like that. But somebody on the other side of that, somebody who isn't pulling, a smaller rear gear or a smaller rear gear, they're going to have a bigger run at the end of the straightaway. So you may get the line on them, but if they're running, they come off and they're able to keep momentum, they're going to be able to keep that position. So it's definitely a balancing act. That's a lot of karting, is yin and yang. There is no perfect setup for anything. Where you gain, you're going to lose somewhere. It's splitting the difference to make it, two different ends of the track, two different scenarios of gearing, all these things where, you go with a softer tire. It's good at the beginning of the run, beginning of the run, not as good at the end of the run. It's a yin and yang situation. Rarely ever do you just hit that sweet spot. I mean, it's possible. I did whoop up on some 450s, some twin engines, some 250s with a little 125 because I nailed the setup perfectly. I could drive it exactly how I wanted. It did exactly how it turned exactly how I wanted to turn. I had so much corner speed that the momentum just carried down the straightaway, and I was able to just leave people with engines twice the size of mine. It does happen. It's just really rare. It's very, very rare to absolutely nail something perfectly. Usually, you're out there with a class and everybody's within a tenth or two of one another, and usually it comes at a different part of the run than some people blast off quicker, some people, and then they overheat a right front or a right rear or something like that, and then they fade towards the end of the run because those tires got hot. To whereas somebody, maybe has a more balanced setup, doesn't get those tires hot, and then they really start to charge at the end of the run. It's a very yin and yang type of scenario. Take a UAS kart to a clone to a L206. It's a balancing act. If you're willing to give up something, you better be sure that that's the correct decision to go with, and that if you're gaining somewhere, you're not going to lose tremendously on this end. It's a lot easier to should I go with 3 teeth here, or do I split the difference and go with 1 or 2 and kind of not lose what I had before but gain a little, you get what I'm saying. But yeah, what else are they going to talk about? I listen to the Four Takes and Fuel podcast. That's a really good one. Not saying the guys ever do a bad job. It's just when they have somebody on like Shay Chavis, it's pretty cool. He talked about his brand new team that he ventured out on his own, not running the 811 anymore. and now he's, building his own team. They're switching from Charger. They're going to Phantom. That was, it's just like, oh, okay. Well, that's new. I know that Shea ran Phantom before years ago, but he wasn't wrong in that episode. He talked about how, when you think of Chavis, you think of Charger. He's been on Charger. He's won some, huge races being on that brand, and it's going to be odd. It's going to be very odd to kind of see him on that. But changes happen all the time. You look at Williamson, going from the Premier camp over to the Charger camp, and the success that he's had there. It's cool. I like. Don't get me wrong. I love when somebody's with somebody and they run with them and they have great success or everything. But I do like to see that change up. I like to see somebody drive for somebody else or try a different chassis or something like that to see if you could either equal your success or improve your success with different tires, different chassis, different teams. It breaks up, a little bit of the monotony. It's, when you're running the 40, if you're Williamson, all those years and all that success, and then you go over to it's the 811, right? When you go over to a different team and you still are able to continue that success, I think it's really cool. But yeah. Yeah, I thought that episode of those guys was really cool. I like hearing from Shay. I've only met him once, and it was briefly down in we were running indoor UAS on the concrete, and I think he might have been racing for Wheeler at the time when he would do UAS stuff. He was running for Wheeler. Super cool of him to see that happen. Yeah, I'm excited. Also, I will have it in my hand soon. I'm going to be getting a copy of the new American Muscle Kart. I thought I'd mention this here. First and foremost, I'll be doing a video on it. But I can't think of another paper version of a magazine anymore. I mean, growing up, to get your picture in a magazine, to get an article, to have something physical in your hands. I know I did was it Oval Kart Digest video a long time ago, and that kind of defunct pretty quick there. Just things happen. It was the full intent of them to keep it going, but it didn't. But since Mark has passed, the publication of American Muscle Kart has since, obviously fallen off. And now with Ernie taking over, Steve Truitt, they're working on the magazine together, compiling everything UAS related, open carts, stuff like that. It's, to me, having a physical copy of something it's nice to look at your phone. Don't get me wrong. If you have a digital, look at this, and you scroll past, but to have a physical copy of something you can look at, see the pictures, see that, if you're blessed enough to perform well enough to get your name in a print edition of something, I think it's super cool. I've been lucky enough to be, in the magazine when Mark was, still alive and still making it. I was lucky enough to be in quite a few editions of that. And I think it's really cool. It's coming back to, after the little hiatus there, it's coming back to print. So I'll definitely be doing a video on that. If anybody's interested, I'll put all that information out there in order to get a copy. It's 4 magazines a year. I mean, it's not, obviously not weekly, monthly, stuff like that. Spring, summer, fall, winter editions of it. You also get, if you're interested in keeping up with UAS stuff, open kart racing, every year they do a rule book printout of that. They talk about, what's coming, what's new, the Grand Nationals, all this coverage and stuff. So I think it's going to be pretty rad. I can't wait to get it and check it out and obviously show it off to everybody. I like physical copies of stuff. I think we were up at Borders Books and Music one time, a couple months ago or something, and that I don't know, they have the digital thing, and then my wife's in the books and stuff like that. And I was right over at the magazines. I was right over looking at the Guns and Ammo. I was right over looking at the Field and Streams, looking at the car magazines, looking at all that stuff in magazine form, because there's still, I'm a little bit older. I can appreciate the analog version of something. Not everything. Yes, the internet is forever. I'll be recorded forever on the internet doing this live stream here. But there is something about having something tangible in your hand that I still love. I still love a physical copy of something. Bought a couple video games, and as easy as it was to download onto my system, I miss having the disc. I do. I was just like, wah, wah, wah. That was one of my personal goals when I joined the US, to be in the magazine. I was blown away when I made the cover one. Absolutely. I wonder if it's here. It might. I had it out here. It's old. Oh, maybe I took it back. It was in this drawer for the longest time. I apologize. I'm not paying attention to the chat. Yeah, I probably took it back. It's probably, well, it might be in the safe or something like that. Put it in my fireproof safe. But it was a long time ago. It was, yeah, I made the cover, and I was so pumped. That was the year. It was a picture from Dumpling Valley. They had the Grand Nationals back then, and I was on my little 125 sedan there, and yeah, it was coolest thing ever, man. It was to get, not only to be in the magazine, like I said, I've been blessed multiple times, point system, this and that. I made, there was consecutive years that I was top 10 in UAS points. The best I ever did was third. That was great and everything, but that one, I have it somewhere. I assume it's safe, but yeah. To make the cover, it's just like, oh. And if I could do better in UAS, maybe there would be a chance to bring the channel to light on there as well, because I wasn't doing any of this stuff back then. Definitely helped me get sponsors for racing. Absolutely. There's something about that. That's, I do a lot of social media sharing for other companies, people that don't sponsor the channel. I don't care. I want to see karting thrive, and any type. The digital is nice. Don't get me wrong, but it's just, there's something about that physical, that being able to hold it in your hands. Like I said, analog. It just it does something for me. Oh, well, hello. Yeah, sponsors are, especially in kart racing, they're tough to come by. Some people are very, very blessed in that they have the personalities, they have the connections, because it's not having the displaying, say, Beard Octane, for instance. Super supporters of me, have been for years. Absolutely love their support, but it's not like people see my cart with Beard Octane on it and say, I'm going to buy beer products. But it is something of value, when I do something, when I get a picture even online or anything like that, or if I happen to make a magazine that logo is there. Boy, who was on my cart back then? I had Parkey's Lounge, which was a local bar. I used to live about 10 miles that way. And they were a pub right down the way from me, and got in there, and the owner was a fan of racing and everything. And after a couple adult beverages, I just walked up to him and was like, hey, I'm a racer. And I kind of showed him what I did and everything. He said, that's awesome. And he sponsored me for 2 or 3 years. Super good dude. He has since passed. His daughter took over for a while, and then they sold it to somebody else. But yeah, super good guy. I was pumped to put his logo. It was Parkey's Lounge, and they had a set of keys in the center. It was I might have, if I was out in the barn, I could probably wander around. I'm sure that logo is on some of my stuff. But yeah, maybe once my son's rich, He's sponsored by Kart Racing. You going to work out? No?
No, not yet.
No. He likes to work out late. He's weird.
No one's at the gym at that time.
This is true. Hi, Stink. Are you coming to be on film? But yeah, not a ton going on. Snow. It's was it Liberty or was it Williamson that went on this past weekend? I watched a little bit of it. That track looks fun. That's put that on the bucket list too. If you know the thing about being a UAS guy trying clone, trying my hand at clone is that I'm going to be in, just in the also ran. I have no preconception that I'm going to be really, really good at clone racing. I just hope to improve, but where I think that I can still hold my own is in UAS racing. Although I didn't make the A main and nationals this year, it might be trailing off a little bit too, but that's effort and time and obviously money, getting to travel, being behind the wheel and stuff like that. But I can fairly hold my own. I'm still decent at that. And if I ever were to go down to something like that, an indoor race or a big event like, Daytona or something like that. There's my other cat. Oh, thanks. Thanks for the adjustment. That running UAS is probably only my viable option to A, make the A main, or B, to be anybody who that would be considered maybe not an also ran. But yeah. Coming down to the swap meet in Wilmington, Ohio. Hog Burners racing the next day. Nice. No, I was thinking about going up to New Hampshire. I just don't think it's going to work out. I would love to. The same day that the Ohio swap meet is going on is the New Hampshire swap meet, and I got an offer to come up there. I would love to do it. It's just, it's tough. Not to make excuses, but I have a disabled dog. And we have to get a hotel that accepts dogs, and then I got to leave. If I'm gone for the day, then I'm leaving my wife in the hotel room for the day, and it's just, it's 7-hour drive either way I go, or maybe it's 5 or 6 up to New Hampshire. Anyway, either way I go, it makes it very difficult. I don't mind leaving for a race here or there, but inclement weather, this or that. I try not to travel a ton during the winter. It's just bad stuff can happen, and not so much of my own doing. People do things. I've been down to Ohio one time, the OV, whatever that swap meet is called. I went down there one time, and I remember it being, my dad and I, that was way back when, we went down, walked around, checked it out. It was really cool. And I know Shatter Chassis is going to be there. Matt Kaler's going up for that. I'd love to, physically meet the gentleman who bought or built my chassis and everything. But 7-hour pull, it's 2-night hotel. I don't want to leave my wife behind, type of thing. She's my travel partner. And we, in order for the wife to go, the dog has to go because he is we can leave him alone for a little bit, but Norman's challenging. He just had an ER vet bill because somebody on Christmas night ate a whole bunch of gum, and it has a chemical called xylitol, which is poisonous to dogs. And what he ate should have killed him. It didn't. But he spent 2 or 3 nights in the ER up in Rochester. That was pricey. He's part of the family. It wasn't even a question. We don't. I'm just not one of those people. He's like a kid. Of a different a different species, but he's a family member nonetheless. So we ran on up there and did that, and then it's challenging. I don't mind leaving for a race here or there, like I said, but to go anywhere it comes with a caveat of how can I make this work? I feel bad taking off and going experience of this. I've been to so many states without my wife, And I feel bad because I get to experience, different parts of the country and everything. I don't get to take her, and now with him along, it's very difficult. But yeah, okay. Am I running the open motor on his chassis? Maybe. I have the 2022 Scythe is my primary UAS ride. I'm familiar with it. I know what it does. I know what to expect of it. I switched to the Recon a little bit, and it was right back to where the UAS Recon was by far the best open chassis that I've been on, specifically designed for it, this and that. Longer inside rail, I think 095 tubing, stuff like that. Custom Nerf bars. I don't have those chassis anymore. I bent one, and then the other one I think I sold, yeah. But I have the Scythe is the second best chassis I've ever been on it. I had a standard Recon that I tried to put the Bama on. It didn't like it. I think this chassis will like it. It's a very free chassis. I think it will, it will accept it fine. The thing about me changing over to it, and if I do it at all, it will be at Nationals. If I'm able to go to the Nationals in Tennessee this year, I think it's Morrison, Tennessee. I'll more than likely be on the Shatter. It's going to take some work though, because I will have to move the brake to fit my fuel tank in there. I carry about 3 gallons on board. I have a tube tank. I'd have to move the brake, so I got to cut it, move it up forward, change my braking and this and that. Rear axle brake system, okay, that's not that big of a deal. I can just kind of swap. I'll just take what's on the Scythe now and put it onto that chassis. I will also need to either A, order a set of Nerf bars from Mac to put the wedge body on it, or B, I can weld. It's part of my job. I'm not the world's greatest welder, but I can weld. It's not bird poop, but it's not the fanciest stuff you've ever seen. I can weld, so either do that or make my own Nerf bars to make it work. Debating. But yeah, you're talking left front brake. No, I'm talking about, so I have a tube tank. It's 7 inches in diameter, 24 inches long. And it goes, it's so long that it goes where your master cylinder mounts on a standard cart. They run that really long one, except for Ultramax. Ultramax has their things up on the has their brake and gas up on their pedals. I really like that design. It's either that or do that. Like, go ahead and order. It's possible to do that. I could find an order Ultramax and do a modification to the front porch and put an Ultramax brake pedal onto it, so it has the master cylinder there. If they still design them like that, I'm fairly certain. But yeah, I have to move that because underneath the steering triangle, that tube goes in and it carries over too far. Technically, I could probably mount it so it sat over, way over to the right. Maybe I should think about that. I might have to mock that up because I always have a little too much left side weight, at least for up north. Left side weight. Now, if I move that tank over and just built a bracket like the Nerf or something like that to hold the right side of it, if it doesn't interfere with the engine, and it shouldn't, it should be quite a bit forward of that, I might actually be able to mount that tank to the right of the brake, keep the brake where it's at. Maybe that's possible. I really have to look at that. I don't mind fabrication stuff, but if I can do stuff without having to, that's the one of the things about UAS stuff. It's just, people will ask, hey, I'm coming from Clone Racing. I want to put a 450 on. I want to put a shifter on, or this and that. All well and dandy until you think about some of the modifications that you're going to have to do. Handling wise, put some standard numbers on there. You're really not, it's not gonna, it's more about how you're driving the cart than what the numbers are, if that makes any sense. You could, because it's gonna drive a lot different with that kind of power in it. One of the things is they load and unload front to back so much quicker. When you accelerate it lays you back. and you get that. Well, when you jump out of the gas, it loads the nose. So you have to be aware of that type of stuff. But the modifications, putting per the rules in UAS, and just in general, not even UAS rules, in general, never run a mini light brake on something like that. If that, even on the low end of things, that this 250 two-stroke that is sitting right to my left here, on the low end of estimating, this is at least 60 to 65 horsepower with, 25, 35, or 20, yeah, I'd say 25 to 30 foot-pounds of torque, give or take. Even on the low estimate of what that engine is capable of producing, that is such a jump. And you have to consider that. So when you're doing braking, a C high performance rear rotor or a Matt Kaler rear rotor, you need more woe for your go. It is, it's a terrible idea to run anything that is a single blade. I think the rule is it's got to be at least 3/16 thick rotor and not mini light. I think that's the rule. I haven't looked at it in a while. I've always run a C high performance, but yeah, braking is an absolute necessity when it comes to UAS stuff. But it's things like that. You have to modify your brakes. You have to, if you're running just, I would suggest running like a double clamp right rear hub. Things like that. There's so much more force being applied to the same basic type of chassis that you just have to be very aware of what is possibly going to happen to the thing under load. So, brakes and modifying that, obviously modifying if you're going to run a wedge body, you want support up there. You can run standard nerfs, but this is, first off, it looks like poop when your side panels are doing that. That's why you want something that is more triangle oriented to hold the side panels flat, and especially when you go into the corner, you're leaning on all that air, and you don't want your body shifting over type of thing. So you need bracing, things like that. It's just they're really fun to build, especially if you're mechanically inclined. I don't mind doing it, but it's very time consuming. Even to switch over something like, going from the scythe over to the shatter is going to be difficult. But I think, if I am, barring anything unforeseen, I'm going to go to the Grand Nationals this year, and it's not a far stretch. I know what the scythe will do. I ran it. As a matter of fact, I ran, that scythe took 5th place at the Grand Nationals down in GKK. I know that it will perform, but I'm going to an unknown track again, and I think that the potential of that chassis is going to be really good. Plus, I have Mac to bounce, ideas off of. Hey, what do you run for numbers on your UAS ride? Because that's Mac. Not only is he a fabricator and build the Shatter chassis, but he's also a UAS guy, and he runs at Ashway Speedway his UAS ride. So he's got some, he'll have some numbers, have some concepts for me to kind of bounce off of him, and I'll be going down south to where the tracks are, they're on a different tire, but the grip level may be more similar to what I have up here. So I fully intend to do it. The only problem with doing it sooner to get some time on it is that I'm sacrificing my clone package. I really, as a somewhat of my stated purpose, I want to run clone. I want to run not more clone, but I want to run clone to give you guys my experience doing the platform that most of you are going to be on. I'm not saying there are UAS racers in open racers in the comments watching the videos or anything like that, but a majority of racers are going to be on clone. They're going to be on Predator. They're going to be on the L206 package. They're going to be on a lower type of horsepower. So I need that experience to translate over to you. I did it for years. The theory of why I do things and everything kind of comes together, but it is different. It's the fabrication different. The way you drive the things are different. The way, the chassis performs much different. But it should, all in all, should be a fun year. Every week I get on here and I say, I got to get the bottom end of the engine done. It's January. I might want to start thinking about it, thinking about getting it sent out and actually done. I wish it was as easy to change a rod, a rod end bearing, a rod, bottom end stuff as it is for me to put a piston things, as long as you don't stick them. I can rebuild the top end. I've done it on KT100s. I've done it on sedans. I've done it on the Bamas. Okay, putting a piston in it, not scared of doing that. But then when you're talking about a crank pin, and stuff like that, it's just like, yeah, I don't have the stuff for that. I better send it to somebody who actually knows what they're doing. Nice. That I was talking with my buddy Walt. He used to be my sponsor and race buddy there. That's who, initially we got into the Bamas and stuff like that. And I was talking about I'm going to pronounce it wrong, the Corsair, I can't pronounce it. The 175cc. And I was talking about them, how they, obviously they're going to twist more RPMs and, a lot of, obviously, see high performance, and all those guys are going to it. Williamson ran one down to Daytona. They're looking to be, they're going to have a few bugaboos to start. And I think Chris would, say that they're trying some things. They're seeing what they'll do, seeing what they won't do. IAME builds them. Both the one that I think Williamson won on was from Buller. That's pretty cool that he's getting into them. But it also gets me thinking. It's just like I probably still be heavy for the thing, but it would be nice to be able to twist some RPM and stuff like that, and maybe have a little more. The Bama without a power valve is very laggy off bottom end. It takes such a gulp of fuel when you jump out of the gas that it has to process it, much like the sedan days. And I'm wondering if that would clean up a little bit with the with that 175cc. But I'd be heavy for it. Although now that I stepped on the scale this morning, I was 203 again, so I might be closer to the weight in the cart, especially the Shatter seems to be a little lighter of a cart. I wonder if I'd be closer to that weight. My son's flexing over here. Just try not to laugh. But it makes me wonder, like I got to weigh 400 pounds. I think it's still 400 pounds for the Bama 250. And I think that the 175's got to weigh 375 or 380 or something like that. It makes me wonder if I could get down there with that small of an engine, and if it would, everybody wants to go bigger. They want to go with the Jawas. They want to go with the more horsepower. They want to have the Bama 300s. But obviously, C and Williamson driving the Buller there proves that the little engines can do it, and they're fast, man. Corner speed is king, and if you can keep that dynamic I was talking about, that extra horsepower slightly woed to whereas you can drive the corner even faster, that moves into straightaway speed. The faster you come out of the corner, the faster you're going to go down to the straightaway. But yeah. Dropped a valve last year, really hurt my pocket. Yeah, I'm sure of that. Have you ever tried a Jawa or a GM? Yes, I had a Jawa briefly. I ran it a couple, 2-3 times. I liked it. It was smooth. Very, very easy to drive with as much horsepower as it had. Now, I will say this, that it was a money race or whatever, down to the local track there. And I initially was on that. And I just came in, and I think I qualified like 5th or something. And I don't think Walt was there. I called Walt. He's just like, what do you think? And I was like, it's fast. And I'm competitive lap-wise. I don't think I can win on it. And he was just like, change back to the Bama. And I did. I went back to the Bama, and I drove from 5th up to the lead, and I won the thing. And it was just like, it really, I just know how to drive a 2-stroke better. It's not that 4 strokes are bad. I love all horsepower. I think they're equally awesome. But my experience has, with the exception of the Clone now, has always been with 2-strokes. So KT100, sedans, on to the Bama, it's always been a 2-stroke. So when I go to drive something different, it changes the way you drive it, how you apply the force. Obviously, the right side weight was it was a big deal for me because at that time I was 190 pounds, give or take. I had to load the left side with a bunch of weight in order to counterbalance that huge freaking engine. I almost swore. I don't do that here. It just, when I went to the Bama, that counterbalance wasn't necessary. So it was fun. We ended up putting my buddy Tommy on it. We went to Paradise one time, and by that time we had put electron carb on it, and we were still monkeying around with it. It ended up not working out. I think Beef, Eric Grace, traded us a Honda 450 for it. They still had the training on it, and we were going to build it, and then decided against it. Bought the Heger drive and everything. We're ready to rip with it, and then we decided against it. It's just like, it's probably me griping about not being able to drive a 4-stroke that convinced Walt to get rid of it. Sold that and ended up getting a Bama 300. I think that was the replacement, how it went. But yeah. RRT has one of those. Oh, nice. I still have 2 old Tecumseh Star. Oh, the Bobby Baldwin was huge into those things. Him and Beef. The Tecumsehs, I called them the Tower of Power because they built I mean, they were stacked up, man. There was some serious valve stuff going on there. Oh man, it was cool. I have never been on a 450. I very well might like it. I've never had the funds to have a 2-stroke and the 4-stroke. Since Walt got out, I'm one engine guy. There were 7 UAS packages out in that barn at one point in time. Between BRCs, we had twin 131 sedans, 2 Bamas, Jawa. Was that it? Oh, and KT 100. And maybe you won't say UAS, but I had all those stuffed out in that barn. It was extremely hard to manage. I couldn't keep up with it anymore, so we had to park the Red Sea and get rid of all that stuff. Somebody down in, was it West Virginia, maybe they bought the Jawa. Something like that. I think he bought a Recon with a Jawa on it. He was from West Virginia because he drove up to get it in like 2020 or 2021, something like that. But yeah, my old 450 was crazy. I'll never ran OT enough to get comfortable. Right? Eventually, the only thing is, if I'm gonna drive one, it's probably not gonna have to be a shifter. My old man ran motocross for years. I have never actually been on a motorcycle. I watch it. Matter of fact, Supercross back on Tomac. I love watching that. I've never actually been on a motorcycle. Shifting them, I get the concept. I'm pretty sure I could figure it out. But the people with the divorced trannies, that's probably the way I would have to go, just so it's Matt the gas, gas and brake. Let's not complicate things with shifting and stuff. I know there are advantages to it. It starts and restarts, but there's also disadvantages. If you don't pull the clutch in, UAS rule, if you stall it on track, unless you have a electric start, you're done. And I have a sneaking suspicion that if I had a shifter, I would stall it. Because the KT 100 days, when I spin, I have it's just like a thing that I don't mat the gas, but I keep my foot in it a little bit to keep the thing spooled up so it doesn't stall. It's intuitive. I go to that, and I could do the same on a 450. If it was a case that it might stall or something like that, I could do the same with that. I could probably teach myself to do it even on a 4-stroke, but grabbing a clutch would be confusing to say the least. But mine, yeah. My US 450, I put in third and left. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with shifted. Dan Guild went to the Grand Nationals. He made the dash. That's I think it's a 500cc RM, if I'm not mistaken, a Suzuki. He's really good on it. He's on a rival for chassis. And dude, he was good. And everywhere we've gone down here to AMS, he's really good there. He's been extremely competitive shifting. He's very comfortable with it. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I don't think it's right for me. I think that I could screw that up. I could screw that up royally. and be in the wrong gear, and let's just not go there. If I had gas and brake, I could wrap my head around that. You know, I'm a simple man. But we are past an hour, so thank you very much, guys, for stopping by. Probably, like I said, I'm probably going to do a video on the WKA, NKA announcement. It goes with one of the things I had listed in my videos for things to talk about. So I think I'm going to go with that unless I change my mind. If I decide, yeah, maybe I won't do that. That's conceivable too. But I think the premise is, you know, and it's about the fighting. A line has to be drawn at some point in time. So I think that it'll be a good video. I don't think it'll make killer views. I don't care, as long as it does somebody some good. You know, if it teaches a dad, hey man, or you know, teaches a kid watches it and says, hey, dad, don't do that, you know, type of thing. I think it'll be a good video. You know, whether or not it does well, it is what it is. Like I said, I do not base this channel on views or subscribers or anything. I base it on helping people. And even if a video doesn't do that good, if I get through to one person or a couple people that, you know, maybe in the back of their head, like, that's not a good idea, don't do that, you know, type of thing, it helps. You know, I'm here to help as best I can with everybody. But that's the intention. We'll see if it happens. But you notice my shiny bald head? I got one of those Freebird. I'm still getting used to it. I'm a bald man now. Well, have a good rest of your weekend. Thank you for. Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for you guys stopping in. I appreciate you coming by, hanging out with me, listening to me yammer on. It's amazing I can converse with a cell phone for so long. Although some people would disagree, I could talk with myself for that long. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming by, and I'll see you Sunday and the next week. All right, later.